You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch.
Welcome to another episode of Stupid Bitches Say What? What?
What?
The Aussie podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine. And your hosts, Skye Collett and Sean Beano Hipkins.
Boosh. This week, it's pop culture. Listen in as Skye covers the immensely popular yet gut-wrenchingly dark TV show, The Handmaid's Tale, a story of life in the dystopia of Gilead, a totalitarian society in which it was once the United States that is now ruled by a fundamentalist regime that treats women as the property of the state. While I cover something a little bit more lighter. The music legend Kate Bush, British singer-songwriter and musician, who has recently topped the charts again after over 30 years. And we'll both talk about how these two topics tie into each other. What you drinking, Skye?
Oh my God, you got super wordy with that, didn't you?
That was very wordy.
That was heaps. That was really good. It was very well written. Oh my God, you're like a master of the written word.
Look, Google did help. I'm not going to lie.
So what I'm drinking is a bottle of Yellow Glen Colours Soft Rose Pink.
Oh.
It's a bottle that my sister left here after the hen's night.
Nice, glad to see it's still going.
Yeah, she left about 6 bottles.
Wow.
And I've drunk through them. I don't love it. It's not amazing.
Okay.
It's low cal, low alcohol, which is not my thing.
Yes. But certain desperate times, desperate measures, or certain shit to do.
I do love the yellow, though. I would drink the yellow any day of the week. The full alcohol one, though. Not
I was going to say,
yeah,
I haven't had the half-strength yellow. But that's good to know that they have options like that. So if we do a challenge again, we know what we can try.
Have you never seen these? These have been out for ages, years and years, these half-strength. Oh, my God, now I have to get the cork off, and I'm so weak. Are you ready for this?
Put your back into it.
It's not even happening.
Just going to shoot you in the face, isn't it?
It's totally going to shoot me in the face. It's going to...
Twist and pull. Twist and pull.
Wait. It's not happening. And I can always do it. It's really stuck. Now I'm actually scared for my life, but I'm also scared not to open it.
In case it pressure.
Pop open.
Get a tea towel.
I've never had this problem before.
Is there any
it's
movement?
Coming out, but it's like
little by little by little.
It's straight left in this hand. Hang on, get late. Wait. I can't feel my hand. Link couldn't get it open either.
What'd you do? What did you end up having to do?
Just left it on the counter until Tyler gets home. But Link hasn't opened shams before, so he was like getting stressed out because I was like, you can't just like reef it off. You've got to like
twist and pull,
twist and hold the pressure in your hands. Like, I don't know what you're saying to me.
So what have you got there? What have you resorted to?
So what I'm drinking this evening is a James Squire 150 Lashes Pale Ale because I couldn't open my bottle of champers and my husband is at football.
Well, it's funny you're drinking a beer. I've moved to a beer as well, but mine's not nearly as exciting. I'm going a Heineken Zero. Zero alcohol, but full taste. It does taste like beer, which is a lifesaver, actually. Vinny and I had it once when we did Dry July, I think. Or not Dry July. We may have done a couple of weekends off the beer and gave up after that. But we went to a party and we were drinking this, and it's actually not bad. You actually feel like you're being part of it. You just don't
Really?
get pissed. Yeah, you just don't get pissed.
I'm really against no alcohol. I'm against low alcohol stuff, but I'm super against
No,
zero
zero.
alcohol, anything. Anytime I see an ad for it, I'm like, you fucking serious? Turn it off.
Losers.
I'm outraged
A
by
town
it.
full of losers. There's 69 calories in this beer too. So it's not too bad. But if you are looking for a alcohol-free beer
Reasonable.
option, I would recommend the Heineken Zero, and they're cheap.
Sure, sure.
So, how's your week been?
It's been good. I had a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. I just have to get my notes up. Hold on a second, if you please.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll fill you in on some of my activities.
Oh, please.
Noticed on the socials that Survivor Australia is set to film its new next season, and it's going to be a heroes versus villains season.
I did see that, yes.
Yeah, so they're going to have 12 returnees and 12 newbies. But some of the rumored returnees are the original winner, Christy. Do you remember her? She was the one, she was always seen as a bit of a poor winner. I think Belinda had her in the sweeps actually and won with her, but she was always seen as a bit of a poor winner. She didn't really strategize much. Her strategy, she just killed it at the final tribal council. And her strategy was to sort of get the focus off her a bit. So she's really going to have to live up to expectations or really build expectations of her game if she wants any sort of reputation coming out of this one. There's also Sean Hampson, that football player who's married to that supermodel, Miss Australia. You know her.
The really pretty one that everyone loves.
Yeah, she's brunette.
The Miss Universe one, the Aussie.
Megan Gale.
Oh, Megan Gale. I thought you meant the other one, the blonde one, but around about the same time, right? Okay.
Yeah. So, and he was my favorite. He is a dreamboat. He was in the original season with David Gannett. In it, George from Bankstown's coming back allegedly.
Stop it.
Shawnee's meant to be coming back. Shawnee kind of reminds me of you a bit.
I do like Shawnee.
I like Shawnee too. And Nina, Sandra's daughter, is meant to be coming back as well, who was in the last one, which makes sense. Also, did you ever watch The Bachelorette when Sophie Monk was the Bachelorette?
No.
There's a guy in that called Kieran who was a bit of a scoundrel, and he's meant to be in it as well, but obviously not as a former player. And the other thing I wanted to quickly mention is, do you remember
how Shawnee's third one, because she was in
All
the
Stars.
Original, and then she came back for All Stars, like not the original, but she was one of the early ones. Then she was All Stars, and now she's coming back for this one.
I know, and I don't know how I feel about that, having a third-time returnee so early into the season, into the series. Like, I think maybe in about 5 more, start getting.
She's definitely a fan favorite, though. People
she totally
love her.
is. She is good. But do you remember how I was telling you recently how Gav from work had given me that little Kermit Lego figurine because of it was the Muppet Babies episode in our cartoons, and he said, "Oh, I want this piggy." Well, anyway, Gav's got a collection of them all, and you've got to get one of each. It's kind of like you pick up a bag, but it's unmarked, so you don't know which character you're getting.
I actually saw some kid and his mum and came out the other day after we talked about this, and him and the mum were going through the packets, like feeling. She's like, no, and chucking them to the side. Must have been after like 1 or 2 specific ones, and they knew how they felt.
Yes, and I'd say because they cost maybe, I don't know, $2.50, $3. That they've probably had doubles galore. So Gab's been chasing his last person in the collection, which is Bunsen. You know Bunsen and Beaker, the green guy.
I love Bunsen and Beaker. They're my favorite.
Yeah, so he was chasing Bunsen, and he said he went to Big W and just bought them out. They had about 10 left. He just bought them all, and there was one Bunsen in the pack. So now he's got all these spares, and he's got a bowl on his desk that has lollipops and some Lego figurines in there that he offers around. And do you remember how you said you wanted Miss Piggy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I've got that for you. You can thank Gav for that.
Thanks. I will. I'll message him.
Yeah.
So thanks, Gav.
So you got a Miss Piggy now.
Yay.
So how's your week been? What you got for us?
Okay, I've got two things that are noteworthy to talk about. I have this weird fucking cyst in my armpit, right?
Oh,
I know, you can't see it. So the other night, it must have been Tuesday night,
a
I woke
hidden
up,
lump.
yeah, in the middle of the night, and I was like I went to, so I'm a side sleeper, and I,
Yep.
normally sleep on this side. But I'm a bit restless sometimes in my sleep, and sometimes I stretch my arm out to get into a bit of a, and I went like this in my sleep, and it was so painful that it woke me up, and I went, what's wrong with my arm? But in your moment of like sleepiness,
Yeah.
and I must say, the day before, I felt like there was an ingrown hair or something, which has never happened to me in my armpit. Like something weird was going on. Like I felt a little bit of a twinge.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I woke up in the morning and my arm was throbbing, but there was nothing there. But when I pressed down, I could feel like a little
The
bit of a lump.
lump.
And I remember my sister saying a few years ago that she got a couple in a row, and it must be something in your diet or a reaction to something.
They
Or
can just happen sometimes. Yeah.
I've never had one before, but now it started to rear its big ugly head, and it's not like there's not a head on it, like it's nothing like that, but it's a proper red lump in my
Yeah.
arm, and it's super sore. Like it's not as sore today as it was earlier this week. Like it's obviously starting to heal, but I'm like, what's going on in there?
Yeah. Do you have any
Like,
ichthymol, that drawing ointment?
no, well, I don't want it to. I don't want to pull it out. I want it to just go back to normal.
I
I
don't
don't
know if
want to
that
have to.
happens.
Let me feel it. Let me just have a little feel.
It might have
It's
like,
definitely smaller. It's not like
yeah,
it has
it
been all
might have
week.
gotten irritated and swollen up. What do they call it when it gets all fucking red and a bit? It might have been,
Infected.
well, maybe, or irritated, and it may be now going back down to a little hard lump.
Well, Tyler gets cysts from time to time, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna always get cysts." He's like, "It'll get a head on it, and you're gonna have to squeeze it." And something. I was like, "Oh, I don't want to squeeze it."
Under your arm
And
too, that would be painful.
it was. It's not as. It's nowhere near as bad. So it's coming back to normal. But that was one of the things I wanted to talk about because I thought it was a bit crazy. If anyone out there's listening and has cysts and they can relate, please drop us a line. Especially in the underarm area. The other really funny thing that I wanted to talk about is that my son, who is 16 and a half almost, he's just started his first job.
Hey,
and he's
congrats,
working in
Linky.
a fast food. I know, congrats, my little darling. I never thought he'd get a job, actually. I didn't know. I did, but it's been a long time coming. I was working from 14. As soon as I could make money, I was out the door. So he's working in a popular fast food restaurant. And my son loves his fast food. We call him a garbage eater because he likes to eat. Those burgers that you can get in the freezer section at Coles that you put in the microwave, the chicken and cheeseburgers. He loves them.
Oh my gosh.
They are the most, and then when you put them in the microwave, the stench that comes off them after they've cooked is disgusting. Like you have to leave the house almost. That's how gross it is. Loves them. Complete garbage eater. Like he would eat takeaway fast food every meal if it was up to him. So he's working at one of his favorite fast food restaurants. Yeah. And after his first shift, he comes out and he says, "Oh, I'll never eat there ever again, Mum. It is disgusting." He says the crust on the top of the sauce bottles all builds up and then they use it to put on sauce. He's quite pedantic about things like that. Like when he gets the sauce out of the cupboard at home, he'll give it a squirt and won't use it before he actually uses it.
Yeah.
Who does that? It's not a learned behavior from me. That's just something he does. Anyway, so completely grossed out, swears he'll never eat there ever again. He reckons that they poured out nuggets on this table and the table was filthy.
That's the trouble when you've got kids running restaurants as well, isn't it? Like I'd be in there wiping the sauce bottles down. You would be too when...
But I said to him as well, I said, this is the thing, you can never think about this sort of stuff. And when you stop working in fast food and you move on, you get another job and you don't ever go back to that, you have to put it, you have to compartmentalize that, because if you think about everything that goes on in a restaurant, you'll never eat out anywhere.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I was joking with him about is that from an episode of Bones, but it's actually real.
The Jefferson Society Institute. Jeffersonian.
The US Department of Health, so the FDA, I'm not actually sure what that acronym is for. Something anyway, so it's the US Department of Health, but basically they state that it's acceptable because they have a real vermin problem in the States. We also have a vermin problem. Like we've got cockroaches and ants and shit like that, and spiders wherever. But they state that in 100 grams of chocolate, it can contain up to an average of 60 insect fragments, and that's acceptable. They won't shut a factory down. So per 100 grams, 600 bits of cockroach, bits of spider, bits of ant is acceptable. God. And I was telling Link that in the car when he was whinging about how disgusting. I was like, Google it. I'm not making it up. Google it. So we Googled it, got frantically, and we couldn't find the Australian comparison. We could only find the US one. He was like, I'm never eating Reese's peanut butter cups again.
Well, you know that it's not going to be like a whole leg and stuff like 60 whole legs. It'd just be a tiny amount, but still it's disturbing to think about.
It's still pretty disgusting to think that even the health department is like, you're not going to die. It's not going to kill you. It's gross. It's not going to kill you. Just a bit of bug with your chocolate.
Yeah. Oh God. And unless you're going to be prepared to make your own from cocoa beans, and you've just got to fucking close your eyes and swallow. That's my motto in life.
I'm almost certain he'll continue to eat fast food, and also chocolate. And the other night when I picked him up, him and his mate had made these massive burgers that they'd put together because they were doing the close. And he came out and he's like, look at this massive burger I made myself. Look at all the patties on it. I was like, I thought you weren't going to eat that because it's so disgusting. He's like, I made it myself, Mum.
Yeah, I'm over it now. I'm over it. It's fine.
Made sure it was clean. I didn't put it on the tables.
Oh God, I could go a burger right now too.
Yeah, I'm feeling really hungry. So, how's your week been, you stupid bitch?
Oh, that was my week. Just my joy of finding Survivor, coming back again soon, and
of course it was
the Legos. Yeah.
So you're going first tonight?
I am, and I'm going to lead the Kate Bush discussion.
Oh, I've been so excited all week for this episode. So excited.
So, and because we've wanted to do a pop culture episode on Kate Bush and the Handmaids together as one episode for quite some time now.
Since we started,
we've spoken about it.
When we first started this podcast, we first like, these are the things that we want to talk about. This was up there. We were like, we have to do Handmaids one time. And
we wanted to have them married in the same episode because of some of the crossover stuff, because we love them both as well. And as Kate's music is featured in Handmaids, so it's a perfect combination, please.
But also, I think that you need to acknowledge the fact that we've been Kate Bush fans forever. So she's quite relevant right now in the media. And even with Handmaids, she became relevant once again, if you're a Handmaids fan. But we've loved her forever.
I've got all that covered, don't you worry.
Oh,
but yeah, as you said, with the current resurgence of Kate Bush in the charts recently, and with the next season of Handmaids due to drop in September, we thought it was the perfect time to do the episode. Finally, we got there after 3 seasons.
Finally.
So you and I have both had a deep love for Kate's music. Running Up That Hill has been on our playlist for many a year, as have many other songs.
Cloud Busting is my favorite. Cloud Busting and This Woman's Work, they're my faves.
But first, I have to admit, though, the first version I really heard and fell in love with of Running Up That Hill was with Placebo.
Stop. That's on my playlist at the moment because it's in a Bones episode.
It's so good, isn't it? Did you
and I forgot about it.
Yes,
I forgot about it, and I was like, oh my God, this is a cover of Kate Bush. I love this Placebo song. And then I realized I never knew when I loved it years ago that it was a cover of Kate Bush's song until I heard it recently.
Yeah. So my I was the same. Like I always loved the Placebo version. Then I heard the Kate Bush version. Obviously not a version, but Kate Bush is song, and I was like, oh my God, this is Placebo have covered this. Same reaction. But my real love for Kate's version actually made a comeback in my playlist after watching the Stan miniseries It's a Sin, which came out in January at the beginning of last year and is set in the UK in the 80s around the AIDS epidemic and a group of friends and their experiences at that time. It's a really good series. Vinny loved it as well. It's a must watch if you haven't seen it yet. It's full on, but it's fucking great. Anyways, as you could imagine, the soundtrack from that time of It's a Sin is also fucking on point. Vinny and I both had the playlist downloaded on our Apple Music. It has classics from Pet Shop Boys, Soft Cell, Blondie, Wham, Belinda Carlisle, Ploise.
I love Blondie.
Mel and Kim, Respectable, Erasure, and of course, our girl Kate. and that particular song, Running Up That Hill. So the fact it's making a second resurgence in my life over an 18-month period is pretty amazing. It's because of the It's a Sin TV show that my love for Kate was reinvigorated, and I found her album, The Whole Story, on Apple and became obsessed. It really is the album to get if you're wanting her hot hits and all in one go. And I desperately wanted it as part of my vinyl collection. I searched high and low for it online. They were going for extraordinary prices of over $300. I couldn't find it in any of the local record shops. I Googled other record shops and searched their libraries, all to no avail. Then I told a certain stupid bitch of my love of this album and how I was desperately trying to find it on vinyl. This said stupid bitch also has a vinyl collection that is much larger than mine, and lo and behold, she had a copy of it. I was super envious, and I told her so. Coming up to Christmas, this stupid bitch, who was at the time residing in another state to me, made it her mission to find another copy of the vinyl for a Christmas present.
I did.
And she fucking well did. She went through sleazy record salesmen to do so, and it was a perfect gift. Of course, that stupid bitch is Skye.
Picking it up 2 days before I got in the car and drove, amongst my packing, I raced down to the record store. I was like, have you got it for me? Have you got it for me? I need it. It's just the perfect Christmas present.
It was the perfect gift. You also got me a neighbour's Christmas vinyl as well that year.
It's a classic. It's vintage.
It is.
It's probably worth something according to the record shop dealer.
Especially after the farewelling the neighbours. So some of my first memories of music are with Kate Bush. So Babushka came out in 1980, and I was only a mere thrice years old at the time. And it's definitely one of the songs I remember from my childhood. I fucking loved it. I used to sing it all the time. Ah, yeah, Babushka, Babushka. That and a song that was called When Gonna Make My Brown Eyes Blue, which isn't Kate Bush, but it's just those two songs are songs I remember from a very, very young age. I have no idea who sings the Brown Eyes one, but Babushka is such a memory for me.
Babushka, yeah.
Do you have any Kate Bush songs that stick with you from your childhood?
Look, I think for me, I always had the this woman's work. Like for some reason, I always remembered. I never understood the premise of it. Never understood the words, and certainly it was Handmaids. That was the thing that brought it back on for me. So Handmaids is what been going for about 5 years now, I think.
Yes, I think it's season 5 coming up. Yeah.
So Kate Bush features very, very heavily and extremely crucial moments in the show. The song comes in, like the different songs that she has comes in at the perfect moment. It's so well put together.
She was so ahead of her time.
So the song that I didn't know existed, which I absolutely love, and to the point where Tyler says to me now, do we have to listen to this fucking song again? Like I've heard this song legitimately a gazillion times, is Cloud Busting. I never knew Cloud Busting until that episode of Handmaids. Not going to give any spoilers, and I just realized it's not on my list of spoiler ones. I need to write that down because I'll talk about it later. But that's the song that Handmaids introduced for me, which is a very old song and is based on an event in history about a scientist that got taken away, I think in South Africa.
Yes, we was trying to.
Are you going to talk about that?
No. This is yours. This is your contribution.
But it's actually based on a historical event, not that happened to Kate Bush that she knew about. And Kate Bush's songs, though, even when you listen to all the lyrics, they're not what you think they are. So she's the kind of artist that you'll listen to it and you go, what's she talking about here? What's she talking about here? And then you have to research, and then it's completely different to what you thought it was. So Cloud Busting and This Woman's Work are my top favorite songs of hers of all time. And Love Running Up the Hill and others.
Yes, the Cloud Busting thing, it was him about making rain clouds, wasn't it? He thought he developed a machine that could make rain clouds.
Yes, but it was a bit more political than that, I believe. And they were concerned, the government at the time were concerned about him for other reasons and thought he was up to no good because He wasn't, I don't think. And then they just took him away one day and just imprisoned him, I think. And I think he never came back.
And you've seen the film clip for it, haven't you? Where Kate is, she plays the part of the son.
I actually think you might have tried to show it to me when we were really, really drunk one time, and I don't remember it vividly.
It's like
as I quite often don't when we get super blind.
It's like that Bright Eyes song, great song. The film clip is just fucking whack. Watching Kate Bush trying to pretend she's this little boy, she's like, oh, and all this shit. It's pretty fucking bizarre.
That Bright Eyes film clip is I've even tried to link it one time, and he was like, what is happening?
The fuck is going on?
I feel really dirty, Mum. This is like
Turn around, Bright Eyes.
And the ninjas are coming to it.
Yeah, and she's having an affair with the school kid.
Yeah, so gross.
But one of the other songs, Wuthering Heights, however, as much as a smash hit it was for her, I don't really remember it at all growing up.
I remember that as well. Love that also.
I did not. And my love for Wuthering Heights actually came from a visit to Ireland in 2008, I think it was. So it was 2 years before meeting my other favourite thing from Ireland, Vincenzo. And I went over with friends Louisa and Lyndon.
Which is your number one favourite thing?
Oh, Vinny, of course. And then the Wuthering Heights.
Shout out to Vincent. You're also my number one favourite thing from Ireland, you stupid bitch.
But I went over with friends Louisa and Lyndon, and we all got to pick one activity each, and we all had to do it over the weekend. And mine, of course, was gay bingo in the George in Dublin, the gay bar, the George. There were drag performances as well, and the artist that night did Wuthering Heights, and part of her costume was this big flowing drape over their shoulders. And when she gets to the part, Heathcliff, it's me, your Kathy, I've come home. I'm so cold. Let me into your window. The drag queen would pop her arms up out the side, so the drape would then fall all around her, and it looked like she was sticking her head through a set of curtains at the window. I was wetting myself, and then I just became obsessed with the song. But I'm also wondering if that queen got the inspiration. Do you know Carol Burnett, who plays Miss Hannigan in Annie? She's she had a Carol Burnett show and all that stuff.
You've spoken about it before, I think.
So she did a sketch where in one of her skits where they were doing a scene from Gone with the Wind, and she's literally wearing a curtain as a dress, complete with a curtain rod stuck out the side, and you can see it's a full curtain rod. And the guy says to her, "Oh, I love your dress. Where did you get it?" And she's like, "Oh, this. I just saw it in the window and I had to have it." It's hilarious. Anyways, let's get back to Kate Bush, please. So a musical legacy. She's a singer, songwriter, pianist, dancer, and record producer. At the age of 19 in 1978, she topped the UK charts with Wuthering Heights for a solid 4 weeks. It was also her debut single, making her the first female artist to achieve a UK number one with a self-written song, something that can never be taken away from her.
So that was her debut single, Wuthering Heights. What a random fucking song
for
people to be successful, because it's basically about a really old book.
Yeah, Wuthering Heights and Heathcliff. Yeah. So, and it's something that can never be taken away from it. It's not something that can be beaten. No one else can be the first female artist to achieve a number one in the UK, with their own role. And she was 19 at the time.
Wow.
I was sitting around a tape player just making mixtapes at that age.
Chopping out the ads.
Yeah, pause. Record.
I don't want dinner right now.
She has since released 25 top 40 singles in the UK, including top 10 hits, The Man with the Child in His Eyes, Babushka, Running Up That Hill, Don't Give Up with Peter Gabriel, and King of the Mountain. She has 10 studio albums that also reached the UK top 10. Her 3 number one albums are Never Forever in 1980, Hounds of Love 1985, and of course, the one I banged on about it like a baby till I got it, The Whole Story in 1986. She was the first British solo female artist to top the UK album charts, and the first female artist to enter the album chart at number 1. I love that for her. It's great that she has these kinds of achievements, as I was saying earlier, because they can't be beaten. It's always going to be her. It's not like she had a record of the most consecutive number ones in a year, which someone can come along and top. It's her achievements that can never be taken. As I was saying, she was a musical prodigy, writing songs at 11 and has an eclectic experimental music
At
style
11.
at 11.
Wow.
You can definitely get that from Wuthering Heights, as we were talking about, with her unconventional lyrics and her performance as well. You know, very
Yeah.
interpretive dancing, if you will.
If you will.
Kate was born on the 30th of July, 1958 in Kent in the UK to an English doctor and an Irish nurse staff. So much Ireland. Her background was also quite artistic in that her mother was an amateur traditional Irish dancer and her father a pianist. She has two brothers, John and Paddy, who are also artistic. One's a poet and the other makes musical instruments. And they were both involved in the local folk music scene. So it all comes together as to how this totally influenced her musical style. So now you know I love a little bit of fun facting. Here's some on KB. EMI gave Kate her first music deal in her teens. She spent the advanced dollars on mime training, as in mime, and interpretive dance lessons. Kate,
I love that.
Kate Bush shares her birthday, 30th of July, with Wuthering Heights author Emily Bronte, and she has the same name given as the book's female protagonist.
There you go.
I know, kooky, hey. Fans refer to her birthday as Kateness, the very best day to put on a KB playlist, bust some theatrical dance move, and the occasional
love that.
and the occasional cartwheel. Kateness, yeah. You know, it's going to be Skymas now, isn't it? Skymas.
Yes.
Fans had to endure
forever. It will be.
Fans had to endure over a decade of silence between Kate's 1993 album, The Red Shoes and Ariel. The wait inspired John Mendelsohn to write a book, Waiting for Kate Bush. She is a vegetarian and does not wear any fur. She has duetted with Peter Gabriel, Elton John, Prince, and her personal favourite, Stephen Fry. And my last fun fact that is pretty well known right now.
What? What
and some songs.
I love Stephen Fry. He's from Bones. He's in Bones, but I love him. I love him in general. I knew him before Bones, but he's in
Bones. My last fun fact that is pretty well known right now is that Kate Bush's 1985 hit Running Up That Hill has had a global comeback after being featured on season 4 of Stranger Things. Bravo, Kate, which I still haven't seen. Apparently, it's during an intense scene where one of the main characters is attempting to escape a monster. But anyways, the song has become a viral hit 37 years after it was first released. She has responded to the current success saying that it is very special, just extraordinary. It's such a great series. I thought that the track would get some attention, but I never imagined that it would be anything like this. It's so exciting, but it's shocking, really, isn't it? I mean, the whole world's gone mad. Then she says,
I love that.
And she says, the thought of all these really young people hearing the song for the first time and discovering it is, well, I think it's very special. So
yes,
Spotify have revealed that the streams for the song increased by 9,900% in the US alone. And on the official singles chart on the 3rd of June 2022, the single re-entered the UK top 10 at number 8, reaching number 2 the following week, and has now reached number 1 on the UK singles chart. And it was Bush's first number 1 since Wuthering Heights in 78.
Stop.
I know. On the 1st of July 2020, the song charted at number 1 for a third week in Ireland and the United Kingdom, and it's also reached number 1 in 8 other countries: Australia, Belgium, Ireland, Lithuania, Luxembourg, New Zealand, Sweden, and Switzerland. In the United States, Running Up That Hill re-entered the Billboard Hot 100 on the chart at number 8, an improvement on the single's initial 1985 peak of number 30, and it also has become Bush's highest charting single on the Hot 100 to date. The song reached number 4 the following week, becoming Bush's first single to reach the American top 5. So you go, Glenn Coco.
And I guess because all these young kids who are obsessed with Stranger Things at the moment, they love vintage things, but also they wouldn't have heard the song. Well, I mean, sure, some of them, that's a massive generalization, but the majority of kids who are 15, 16, who are obsessed with Stranger Things wouldn't have heard it, whereas we have heard it. It's a very old song.
And it's just so much credit to her as well that a song that she wrote in 78 has still got so much fucking... Because that's what, 44 years ago?
Yeah,
It's still
totes.
got legs to carry and actually be a song today. Like, I'm gonna make my brown eyes blue. Wouldn't have fucking survived. You know what I mean?
Look, as much as I love the song, I do think the hype around Stranger Things has certainly influenced that heavily. Do
Peaked.
you know what I
Of
mean?
course, of course.
Okay, so Handmaid's Tale. Thanks for the segue from Kate Bush, because there's lots of stuff about Kate Bush throughout Handmaid's Tale.
You're welcome.
So, for those of our wonderful listeners completely living under a rock, The Handmaid's Tale is an American dystopian. Is that how you say it?
Dystopian.
Dystopian? Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds better. Dystopian drama television series. And then I've written also, it's an incredibly brutal series.
Yes.
Created by Bruce Miller, based on the 1985 novel of the same name by Margaret Atwood. The plot features dystopian future following a second American Civil War, wherein a totalitarian society subjects fertile women called handmaids into childbearing slavery. It is the only show I think that I've ever watched where I've felt compelled to post regularly throughout the episode on social media.
Yeah.
I think it's because I'm just looking for some sort of support.
I need help, guys.
Offa's got a gun and she's not fucking taking any prisoners. Like,
yeah.
You know, you have to put it out there because you're just hoping someone else watching at the same time go, hi, especially when you're watching it on your own. I'm going to read a journalist quote, which I think is totes relatable. So Lisa Miller of The Cut wrote, I've pressed mute and fast forward so often this season, I'm forced to wonder, why am I watching this? It all feels so gratuitous, like a beating that never ends.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, that is so true. Because it is. Why do you subject yourself to it? It's because you're hoping that there's going to be something good's going to come out of it.
I don't know that. I don't think there's any real good to come, and you really know that if you've watched all four seasons, except for the season 4. There's some good stuff that comes.
Well, you want her to have a win. You want her to have a little win in some sense.
Yeah, she doesn't really, though, does she?
Oh, she has a little wins.
But pretty much you finish most episodes. I think season 3 was a little bit slow. It's certainly not my favorite, and at times season 2 was a little bit slow, but certainly season 1, I think every episode I sort of sat there rocking a little bit going.
And at the time it came out too was Trump's reign and America as well, and some of the stuff was getting a bit too scary real. Obviously not to that extent, but there was just like a lot of freedoms and rights being taken away.
Yeah, look, I'll touch on that in a little bit when we get into it. But one of the things, so I'll say this, and I was going to mention this later, but since we're talking about how brutal it is, my sister who watched it, she started watching the first series, and I knew about it because I'd heard of the book. I knew about the book a lot, and then I knew that it was coming out. And because I hadn't read the book, I really didn't know exactly what to expect. And Sarah started watching it first, and she said, oh my God, have you seen this fucking show? You have to watch it. And so we started watching it about the same time, but she got to season 4. She hasn't seen season 4, and she just said to me, Skye, I just don't think I can do it. I don't think I've got the resolve to keep going. And I said, well, we've actually got to see season 4 because there's quite a satisfying ending to it. And it's still going. Like, for people who are listening who don't know anything about Handmaids, season 5 is about to come out, which you did mention before in the Kate Bush segment. So it's still continuing. I don't know. I think they might do one more season, but I think they've already called it quits. Like, they know exactly where it's ending. Have they? I think they've said season 6 is the last one, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Sorry.
But
you couldn't imagine it having too far to go.
Yeah, it's getting to the crux of it, isn't it? So I became a little bit, when I was thinking about research for this topic, there's so many things that we're going to talk about throughout it. I was like, I have to know more about the writers, like seriously, because these writers just, how do they come up with this shit? So Bruce Miller is the show creator, right? So obviously the book is written by Margaret Atwood. So I know people who've read the book and don't really rate it. So I've never read it, even after loving the show this much. Can you really love a show like this?
Yeah.
I think you become obsessed with it.
Committed
but
to
I don't know if you really said it, you'd love it. So yes, I've never gone back and read the book because I've heard from other people it's not that great. But obviously it was enough to make the show, which is incredibly successul. So
do you know
Bruce
there's
Miller,
also another series that's based on the book that came out years ago as well? It's on Stan, I think. But it's
yes,
only
I
one
did
season.
know that. And the movie's been done, sorry, the Handmaid's been done in 2 other movie versions years and years ago, but never been created in this level of you know, detail and had this sort of cult following that it has.
Yeah.
So, and look, Tyler's watched bits and pieces. I think when we first started dating, I was watching season 2 or season 3, and he was like, "What are you watching, Skye?" And became a little bit obsessed because he'd float in and out from time to time, and he'd just have to stand there in front of the TV because he was just like, "What's even happening to these women right now? What is going on?" And I'd be like, "Okay, well, do you really want to know? Because there's a big backstory that I have to fill you in." But he is certainly traumatized by it in the little snippets that he's got. So Bruce Miller, who's the show creator from the beginning, he's an American television writer and producer. He's best known for Eureka. I've heard of Eureka. I think it's a town where people go missing or something, but it's a bit of a comedy.
Oh, I haven't heard it.
The 100, you know the 100,
I know the 100,
right?
yeah.
Yes. And The Handmaid's Tale. So I also kept up a little bit of information about him because I knew I wouldn't remember all this. So I just wanted to go through some of the other shows. I'm just going to throw it out there and how many episodes he's written, okay?
Yeah.
So ER, he did 4 episodes. So he's the main writer. So he's written or been the overseeing writer in all episodes of The Handmaids, and he brings it all together. Like he's the showrunner.
Yeah.
So he did 4 episodes of ER. He did Everwood from 2004 to 2005. He did Medium for 12 episodes. Yes. Fucking love Medium. I want to do that from the beginning again. The 4400, that was quite popular at the time. I think I watched it.
I remember that, yeah.
Men in Trees. Did you ever watch Men in Trees?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Excellent show. It had Anne Heche, you know, the one who used to go with
yes.
Ellen,
yeah.
But she plays a straight woman in it. I think this is when she got married and she left Ellen. Great show. So he wrote a whole shit ton of episodes for that. In Plain Sight, Eureka, Alphas, and then the 100, and then ultimately he's made his way to The Handmaid's Tale. So kind of light-hearted shows, like a little bit of drama, a little bit of action. Certainly, I'm sure there's a bit of violence from time to time.
But not as dark as The Handmaids, yeah.
So then I went on a bit of a trek because I was like, there's a writer's room. For every TV show, there's the head writer, but then there's other writers who all come. They sit around a table and bring it all together. So the next person I found who had the most contribution to the episodes is Lynn Renee Maxey. And so her credits include Alphas. Obviously, they met. Eureka, they obviously knew each other and they've come together. A show called Hawthorne, and Covert Affairs, which is the one who has the chick from Coyote Ugly in it. And she plays like a spy, but very PBS-y, you know, a bit of action. But
not fucking anything to do with the COVID coronavirus.
So what I want to know is what goes on in that fucking writer's room? Like, seriously? And what kind of warped minds
they must just sit there.
Shit together.
Someone says something and the other person's like, I'm going to go one better on that. And then someone just keeps going better and better, as in like darker and darker.
Well, I've also heard talk that Elizabeth Moss, who is the main lead character, and if, again, people haven't seen it, her probably other claim to fame is Mad Men. And then also the one where he's invisible. What a great movie that is. Invisible Man, great movie. If you haven't seen it, you got to see that movie. That's awesome. So she's also talked about the fact it drains her so much, the episodes of the show and being in character and the trauma that the character goes through. She doesn't think there's much longevity after like season 5 or season 6. Yeah. So I think she's starting to call it quits too, because she just can't do it anymore. It just kills her.
And she's fantastic in it as well.
Oh, so fantastic. So amazing. And, you know, the show's won heaps of awards, and critics are saying that season 4 is the best season after season 1. I'd agree with that. I think 2 was good, but not as great as 1, and 3 was meh, but okay. But 4 just smashed it out of the park for me. 1's definitely my favorite, but 4 just brought some stuff together for me.
Yes.
So
they're starting to sort of tie up the loose ends.
Yes, but talking about the brutality of the show, certainly in season 3, I had a moment where almost episode for episode, and even at the end of season 2, I wasn't sure if I could continue. I'd come home from work or something, or I'd go, the new episode's released. I think it was coming out on SBS on a Thursday or something like that. And I go, oh, new episode of Handmaid.
You have to build yourself up for it. Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it. That's why my sister's given up. She's just like, I have to get myself ready and in the right mind frame. Yeah. Like, you can't be in a happy mood walking into the house going, woo, woo, and then watch an episode of Handmaids because it's going to bring you right down.
Yeah.
But I think, and considering I know that it came out in the Trump time, but I personally wasn't, whilst I understood the high level politics of the situation, I didn't know it in great detail. And being, a bit blind to that, I still found the whole premise in the beginning episodes, I was struck by how realistic it was. Yeah. So if even just the premise of a declining birth rate, like a significantly declining birth rate, you can imagine how much desperation that would create in a growing world, because it means that, number one, people, especially women who want to bring children into the world, and that's something that becomes a massive goal for a lot of women, not every woman, but a lot of people, not being able to do that, and so many not being capable of doing that because of all the factors that come into that, but also everything else that goes with it. And it becomes that situation, like, they had declining resources. And
do they ever say do they ever know why the birth rates declined so much?
I believe it has something to do with the nuclear weapons or the nuclear radiation and things like that. So it's set in somewhat in the, not too distant future after the Second Civil War. So states were fighting with each other in the US. So that's what happened in the US. So other parts of the world aren't like Gilead.
In turmoil.
Exactly.
As much turmoil, yeah.
But certainly third world countries, existing third world countries, similar to what is in the real world now, they've already had a declining rate in fresh food and, access to medical care and all that sort of stuff that the states would have better access to. So they're impacted a lot heavier in their declining birth rates. So because remember, some of the places where people get sent, where they get radiation poisoning and they can only last there for a couple of years and it ends up killing them.
Yeah,
that's from nuclear weapons or nuclear activity. It's
where they have to go and soil the turf and all that shit. Yeah.
But that's why they go to those markets and they can only get sometimes they're like, oh, there's oranges today. Oh my God, I haven't seen an orange in 6 years type of thing. And meat and things like that are a rare thing only if you're rich and stuff like that, because they don't have resources. They make their own clothes and all that sort of stuff because they don't have access to that kind of textiles and things like that. So you could see how those two factors could just bring society down
big time.
Massively. And then, of course, history proves that if you're a powerful, rich white man, then you ultimately rise to the top. So it's powerful, rich white men who have come through and have gone, well, women,
we don't give a fuck about anybody else. Yeah,
exactly. We want to have children because we want to be able to continue to build our empire after we're gone. We don't care whose kids they are. We'll just take them and say they're our children. And so it's
and you'll become of me.
Yeah. So the premise, and as much as I haven't read the book, and I'm not sure I ever will, what a brilliant mind this woman has to have come up with this. And then for, this guy, Bruce Miller, to take it from where it is and to create it what it is. Like, it's just, I think, an amazing journey to get where it is. Okay, so listeners, I'm about to go into some spoilers. I thought about ways that I could avoid this, but there's just no way to do Handmaid's justice without going through some crucial spoilers. So if you really are going to watch the show and you don't want to know, it's not the kind of show where you can't know the major things that are happening. But there is so many major things that happen that if you're listening, you'll probably forget a lot of them because I'm only going to tell you a couple.
And there's so much shit that does happen, throughout.
Sometimes just in one episode alone, there's like 5 or 6 things that just completely go to shit that you're like, I got again, Rocky in the corner.
Yeah.
I don't think if I'm going to be okay. I don't think I'm going to be okay.
A constant theme of Handmaids.
But definitely a lot of what the fuck moments. So please fast forward or switch off till the end if you don't want the spoilers.
Well, this is the end, isn't it? The spoilers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
it is. So yeah, maybe don't listen to the closing. Don't fast forward because you might accidentally cop a spoiler.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw some out. So talking about the realistic nature of the premise of the show, how about when they go back in time in the first season, the story of how she finds out she's pregnant and she's not sure if she wants to keep the baby because remember she was having an affair. So the husband, and what's his name? It's not Ben, is it? What is it? Luke, that's it. So it's almost like in some way the writers set them up to be these people that are slightly immoral because he was having an affair and he was his professor or they went to uni together or something and she started sleeping with him and ultimately he leaves his wife.
Yeah, isn't it her best friend's brother?
No. Her best friend's the chick who ends up working in the brothel.
Jezebel's.
Yeah, and ends up getting across the border.
Jezebel.
I can't believe you remember that. So so they're having an affair and they do some flashbacks of how it all comes, how it all ends up being delayed. And this is when people are still free to move around, but the birth rate has declined substantially. Women can't fall pregnant anywhere. And then so particularly abortion clinics become this place that considering over 90% of the female population can't have a baby because they miscarriage or they just literally can't get pregnant. Women who don't want to have a child, and you can imagine society's starting to crumble a little bit. So if you're an unwed mother or you're not financially stable, even in that climate when the birth rate's declining, you still have the right to choose if you want to bring a child into the world or not. So she considers having an abortion and she goes to the clinics and it's 1,000 times worse. Well, I don't want to say that because it's awful for people in this current circumstance.
Yes, they still have to go through what's happening
They still
now.
have to go through absolute hell, but certainly a different every person is against them. Every single person is basically against them if that's the choice they choose to make. And how that all starts and they set the scene and they go back. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you remember this bit?
Yes.
And then it ends up when that bit where they're just in the street at a protest because they're protesting a lot of things that are happening and then all of a sudden these soldiers with automatic weapons just take fire on them all. Do you remember that bit?
Just annihilate them.
And that's when they realize we have to run for the border. We have to go
and make a break
because it's not safe anymore.
And there was also the lead up as well where she was at the university and one of her colleagues or a professor as well is gay. And then they start persecuting all the gay men and women and he's found hung.
Yes, that's right. So if you're a gay person, you're completely ruining society because you're not procreating. Biologically, therefore you're completely shunned. Again, relatable to many places in the world and certainly some places in the States, I think, in this day and age.
Well, it is. They've got that whole don't say gay in Florida now.
Yeah, really?
There was a teacher
can't keep up with it all, can you? You really can't keep up with all the shit that's happening in the States at the moment.
There's some schools there saying that gay teachers aren't allowed to have photos of their husbands up anymore in the school and stuff like that.
Oh my God. Sorry to our United States listeners because we've got a lot of you out there. It's just,
but it is hard to hear.
It's really hard to hear. So that was a big deal, I think, for me watching it in the very first season, seeing how it all unraveled so easily and so quickly. Like even the citizens didn't have time to escape because all of a sudden it just shifted, bang, and people were being shot dead just for saying, hey, don't shoot me, bang, you're dead. Especially the men. The men were shot because they didn't know if the women walking past could carry a baby or not. So, but they would just capture them. I know people who are listening to this who haven't seen the show must be going, what kind of fucking show is this? So I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Let's talk about, I don't want to come to the more recent stuff in the recent seasons, but what about the amputations?
Oh, God.
So what's
Where
the
they
name of
cut
the
their-
crazy one?
Oh, yeah, God.
That's how you first realize that they're not fucking around, is because they take
Where
a
they take
handmaid's
a
eye
eye.
out
Yeah.
for misbehaving, for challenging the status quo and, trying to. Janine, that's it. And she becomes a fan favorite.
Yeah.
And so she pretty much loses the plot over the whole situation. Once they take her eye, subdued. That does it for her. Like, she just never really is the same again.
Unless, anything that comes up with her kid, she will then just sort of lose it because she tries to
kidnap her child, because they
and then
take
she
her
throws
baby.
herself off the bridge with the baby into the ice, doesn't she?
She goes to. They stop her in time, and then that's what leads to that captain's amputation. So the man who's the father, because they're required to have sex in these households. They basically live as a slave in a household with a wife and husband who are the rich, well-to-do people, and are forced to have sex with the husband. So it's his sperm.
While the wife is there holding
her down.
So they're part of the ceremony and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she loses an eye, and then the captain's wife dobs him in for having additional sex with her after she'd fallen pregnant and continuing a relationship. So they take his arm off. But in a surgical procedure where they come and arrest him, he ends up going back to his normal life and still retains his position in the community and in the hierarchy.
He's armless,
but missing an arm.
Yeah.
And then Serena's finger, because she tries to make pave the way for the women and say, can they at least read books, because women aren't allowed to read books anymore, and they take her finger off. The same thing happens.
That's very Taliban-y.
Not to mention what happens with Gilmore Girls. Rory Gilmore has her clit removed.
Yes, I've got that, the circumcision, because she's a lesbian.
Yes.
But she can bear children.
She rebels as well. Remember, she kills someone, she does a whole bunch of stuff and just can never accept the situation, a bit like Janine, and then that's their punishment for her.
Well, and also because she was a lesbian and they didn't want her to feel the joys of sex anymore.
Exactly. Yes,
or have that stimulant. So because you see, that's one of the scenes where she's driving off they kidnap or they arrest both her and her partner, and then her partner obviously couldn't produce children. They just hang her in front of her.
That's the one she's having the affair with one of the other handmaids.
That's
or
right,
the Martha. Yeah. She was having an affair with a Martha, I think.
Yes.
The Marthas are the housekeepers. But when she they're at the airport, remember, when they've got the kids, so they've got the son together, and they're at the airport and they can't cross the border because she's a US citizen, but her partner is a Canadian citizen, so they let the Canadian go. Just as it's all erupting, and they stop her and say no, and that's how she gets stuck there and becomes a handmaid.
And she's not the mother of the child either, is she? It was her partner.
And that's why they let the was.
No, the boy at the airport. Wasn't it like the... I didn't know if that was...
Could be right.
Yeah,
anyway. Right, maybe. So
that's
do you want to say what now?
So I was going to say the whole birth ceremony of a child. So when a handmaid's giving birth to the child, that she's surrounded by all the other handmaids, and then the wives of the captains and that are in another room imitating, like a
simulation.
Yeah, simulating them giving birth with all the other wives around them, as if it's, and then the baby's born and rushed straight into the wives.
I would never. What do they call the wives? They're not Marthas. They're something else. But I can't remember the word that they use. But it's amazing how women can participate in that level of desperation when they can't have their own children and society completely breaks down. It's amazing what women can be capable of as well when there's something in it for them.
The Kellyannes and Ivankas of The Handmaid's Tale, the blue and green clad wives, have it the best of all women.
That's not what they're called.
No, I think they're just called wives.
Yeah.
Because the other wives are called econo wives.
Oh, okay. That must be the book.
No, that's in the thing, because remember the ones, the other women that aren't married to higher men, captains and that, they're called econo wives, and they wear...
That's right.
Yeah, or econo wife.
He's the commander. That's what he is. Remember, he's the commander. That's not the captain, the commander. Commander, well, because she's off-red. So they take on their name, so they become off, and then the first name of the husband, the handmaids.
That's
so
right.
they lose their identity completely.
You would be of Tyler.
Yeah, of Tyler.
Yeah.
So the other one that I wanted to talk about, which is the Kate Bush one, and this is one of my all-time favorite Kate Bush songs. I've got this.
I'm pretty sure.
It's the season 2 opening. So after the turmoil of season 1, where we literally ended it just going, again, rocking in a corner. Oh my God, oh my God. So until season 4, there isn't really a lot of happy moments. You end the seasons pretty much consecutively, feeling complete loss.
There's no victories, nothing. No mini victories, nothing. Yeah.
Exactly. And so you start season 2 with every single handmaid that's in the region standing on those boxes, and they've all got nooses, like thick nooses around their neck. They're crying, they're sobbing, they're holding hands, they're huddling together. There's like, 20, 30 of them at least. Yeah. And they've got these blocks underneath them on a whole
like big, a stage platform.
Stage.
Yeah.
And the song that starts is This Woman's Work by Kate Bush. And it's so symbolic and just such a, important moment. And then in the end, they pull the boxes and the women drop. And then you see them, and you see especially Elizabeth Moss's character, June. She's just resigned. She's like, it's it. I'm okay to go to God now. Like, I'm okay to die because I'm done.
This is hell. Yeah.
It's hell anyway. Let me go. And then they drop a couple of centimeters, pulls on their neck still.
But they don't actually kill them. It's just a big warning.
But they don't actually die. What a fucking season opening.
That was fucking chaotic. I've got that written down. I'll delete that one. Because that is iconic. You're right.
Do another one.
So I was going to say the train scene when they're escaping.
That was one of mine.
Is that what are they running across the border? They're running to the border or to the truck or something?
They're running from the
they're getting taken to the is it the outskirts? What do they call the camps?
This is season 3 where they actually get away, and they end up getting away and end up living
Polonaise.
Yes. Yeah. And so they're running, and they've got people chasing them with, machine guns, and there's cars running after them, and they get to a train line, and
the train's coming, and they start pegging it. And there's 4 of them, I think.
Yes.
2 of them get across.
Janine and June get across.
And then 2 just get wiped out by the train.
Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, they're just almost at freedom. And then boom, they're just taken out. And they're 2 of the main fucking characters as well.
It was a definite fan favorite there too. I remember her going, that was terrible.
It was horrible. It was awful. So the Boston Globe story arc was one of my favorites too. So this is when in the second season where she gets away, June gets away when she's pregnant with the baby. That's the command. Well, it's not the commander's baby. It's the eyes, they call them.
Yeah,
the
eyes. Yes.
Yeah. So Nick ends up being the one to impregnate her, because we find out later that the commanders were supposedly infertile. And then he gets her away when she's pregnant, and she's in the Boston Globe, and she goes in there and it's completely empty. And as she spent weeks in there in hiding, and as she walks around, she starts to see, possessions, and she finds this one shoe on the level where all the desks are, and she's just a shoe just like on its own, like a woman's shoe, a high heel shoe. And she's like, and then she goes into the basement, and all she sees is blood everywhere and the other shoe. And then there's a wall of blood, and you can see where they've literally marched everyone down. So they would have been reporters at the
that's
time,
right, the journalists. Yep.
The journalists, and they've pretty much marched them down and just shot them all, like execution style.
That's right.
And the reason the woman's shoe's there is because she's been dragged from her desk.
Yeah.
She's lost a shoe in the struggle. And then June does that little memorial for them all. Oh, it breaks your heart. That
powerful.
One.
Yeah.
Oh, it was horrific.
I got another one. So when I think it's the end of season 2, where she's going to escape, she's teed it up to get into this little biplane and fly away. And the plane starts, and you're there, you're with her the whole journey to the plane. You're sitting there on the edge of your seat. Go, June, go.
I was biting my nails, just oh my God.
And the motor starts up, and the plane starts to go. The car pulls up, and next thing they shoot the plane down, don't they? Or they shoot it to stop it from flying. And you just see a hand come in and grab her or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and they kill the pilot, all the people so there was a whole network of people who came together under the shroud of secrecy, and it was like drop her at one place and then she had to walk miles and miles and someone else would pick her up, and they had no ways of communicating. It was all through like weird messages passed through like fruit and vegetables and shit like that. And then they found her. They got her in the end.
That was terrible.
That was brutal. So what's another one? Okay, so the Eden storyline. Do you remember the Eden storyline? So she was the wife that came in to be married to Nick. And she started off being super religious, and she completely understood her place in the scheme of things, and she was
an O'Connor wife.
Grown up in for most of her teenage life, was part of the society, so she didn't question it at all. And then Nick didn't love her, and she knew Nick didn't love her, and she challenged it, and for a while there you thought she was going to turn on them in a horrific way and end up being one of the reasons that they got tortured once again. But she fell in love with one of the kids who was working in the military, and then they found out about it. And then they dragged them into that school where the Olympic pool was, and every single one of them is supposed to sat there and watch. Like all the handmaids are there, the wives are there, every member of the community, and they put them on the diving board and they chain them up with all those rocks, and then they just push them off the diving board, and everyone watches them sink to the bottom and struggle.
And just drown. Yeah, I had that one too. That was fucking horrendous.
This is what I was talking about, the writer's room. Like, how are these people sitting there and coming up with this kind of depravity? Like,
they're going to top the next thing. Yeah, I know.
And it does. Just when you think it can't get any worse, it gets so much fucking worse. Have you got another one?
Yeah, I've got a couple still. So the killing of Commander Washington in Jezebel's. Who was, what's his name?
That was one of mine.
What was his
name? He's Stabler from SBU.
Yes. And he's in Oz and that. What's his name?
Yes.
I think he's quite a daddy.
Yeah, and he was in True Blood. Very good looking man, but very evil in the show. And normally plays he wasn't a good guy in True Blood, but a great guy in SBU. What's
Christopher
his name?
Maloney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hot guy. Yeah. And you tell what happens.
So because he's a commander, like Commander Fred, whatever his name is, but he comes from a much more brutal background of how they treat their handmaids, where they start trying this new thing where they put piercings through the lips of the handmaids
so they can't talk and cut their tongues out.
So they can't talk at all. They're just literally a breeding machine, and to do chores and shit like that. Yeah, but there's a part where it looks like he's actually sort of flirting with the other Captain Commander Washington. Sorry.
Yes, there's a part where you think he might be gay. I think he's bi, really, ultimately, because he's in the prostitution, the brothel, and he's sleeping with all the women and treating them horribly.
Yes, and so Jezebel's is it's a gentleman's club, really, where all the commanders who are so highly religious and so up there with God and whatnot all go and fuck women and cheat on their wives and all that shit. It's typical, really. But he takes a shine into Alfred too, and he goes to have sex with her, and she just turns around and she kills him with scissors, or what does she do?
Her heel.
That's right, because she's dolled up to the nines, isn't she?
Because she's there to get a message to someone, and she's playing the part very well. She's tricking them and pretending that she wants to have sex with him.
And she fucking kills him with the shoe, and then all the martyrs, I guess, of the Jezebels all come in and just do a massive cleanup
and throw him in the incinerator.
Yeah, and just clean up all the blood. They never
find his body. He goes missing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was.
And that's when cloud busting comes in.
Yes.
That's the first time I heard cloud busting. I was like, this has to, I knew straight away it was Kate Bush, but I was like, how have I never heard this song before? And I immediately looked it up and became obsessed. Now it's one of my all-time favorite songs ever.
Yeah, another one on the whole story.
Yes, indeed. Such a great album.
Go on, you give one.
Okay, so another one that I want to talk about is, Offred June, she decides in season 3 that once she's past the fact that she realized that she's going to die, she just becomes, her baby's gone, her daughter, who she had at the beginning, is gone, doesn't even want to recognize her because she's lived with another family for so long. She's pretty much completely given up. So she's like, they're going to kill me eventually anyway. I'm going to rebel against everything. So she makes a plan with the Marthas to get as many children out as she can. So she gets these children. She gets a plane organized, and she gets the plane filled with children. And then the plane eventually gets off. She gets shot in the process of getting the plane. They catch them all the handmaids. But the plane manages to take off anyway, and the plane lands in Canada, and Luke is already across the border. He has the baby, baby, because Rory Gilmore has already gotten across the border because, again, June helped her get over there and gave her the baby and said, you have to take the baby with you.
Because she was meant to escape with her, but she couldn't while her other daughter was there.
That's right. She couldn't leave her other daughter behind. So she gets this plane, and then it lands, and they come in, and there's all these little kids with a couple of Marthas in there trying to get them off. And Luke runs into, because they knew it was coming, and they knew that June was behind it because she managed to get a message to him. And he just assumes that the reason she sent the plane is because she got Hannah out, and that's why she sent all these kids, and he's in there and he's going through every seat looking for Hannah, and then he gets to the end and Hannah's not there, and he's just absolutely in despair because his hopes were so high that Hannah was on there, and you're absolutely just heartbroken. And that's the season 3 finale, because all the handmaids have been captured, and you know that something bad's going to happen to all them. And then even though these kids got out, but then Luke's like complete in despair, like sobbing, just absolutely beside himself. And then this man walks in who's there to help with the plane, and this little girl walks off, and she's like, Daddy? And then the dad's like, blah, blah. And then they're reunited, and he thought she was dead because he knew the mother was dead. And so they get reunited, and Luke has to watch the dad be reunited with his daughter, who he was not expecting to be there. And he's just like, again, where are these writers getting this shit from? Seriously.
I'm not really a fan of Luke, I have to say, in the show. He kind of annoys me a little bit. But
love him.
No.
So, and look, I didn't have this on my list, but another really satisfying end to season 3 is that after the plane's gone, Serena realizes that she can't survive without her daughter, even though it's not her daughter.
That's right.
In any way. And she ends up, because one of the inspectors who was trying to do good in Canada, he starts making contact with her, and she ends up ringing him and makes a deal that she's going to get access to the baby if she turns over the commander. And so she takes him for a drive. And
is that season 3?
The end of season 3. Yeah.
Yes. I've got Fred's capture as one of mine.
And so he's driving, and then all of a sudden,
because they were having trouble in their relationship as well. She couldn't really look at him since the finger cutting and all that stuff.
And she played him hard.
And he's like, do you remember when we'd go for this drive? And then she took him on a drive, and they ended up in the Canadian across the border.
In the wilderness. They're in the wilderness, and he doesn't know that he's crossed the border, and all of a sudden all these cars come from nowhere and arrest him for treason, to the United States, and people smuggling, and all the horrible list of things that they've got on him that he knows he's guilty of. And Serena's the one who orchestrated it all. Because
there's still part of the United States, it still exists, that the rebellion has still got their hold. Does he cross over into that part of the?
Does, yes.
Yeah, not actually into Canada, just into one of their
territories.
You're right.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And they get him, and that was one of the very, very, very few satisfying moments in that whole show.
That was a mega win. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Stupid Bitches Say What. We hope your cultures are well and truly popped.
Most people who are listening to this are going to be like, this fucking show, if they haven't seen it, they're going to be like, I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, just put on Kate Bush as the whole story and you'll feel better.
That might inspire you.
Yeah.
Tune in next week as we go back in time. And if you're enjoying our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating on whichever platform you're listening on. And if you feel it up to it, Give us 5 stars on multiple platforms. We'll love you for it.
We
Bye,
totally
stupid
will.
bitches.
Bye, super bitches.
Bye.
Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That stupid bitch.